Hey guys, this is Hit the Panda here, and we're just jumping straight into action today with some 90-mans on full tilt. Just gonna kind of show how these play, and it's a nice strategy to just crush them. Most of the people in these are pretty bad, and you can still get away with playing a pretty tight strategy like you would in the Stars, Turbo SitNGos, with the shallower stack sizes, but these have 3K starting chips, so there's definitely some more room for play if you're really paying attention, and you can pretty much just crush people and be able to stack some people really early. And even if you lose a few pots, you can still just kind of wait around and then shove bot when you need to. Even though it is turbo blinds, they go up to fairly manageable blinds for a while, and you still have plenty of play in these. With all the bad players, it's definitely worth it to try and get into some pots where you can maybe get a stack or two. So that's what we're going to be trying to do today. And then, of course, when we're late and the antes are in, we're just going to constantly aggress people and make them cry. And that's pretty much what you do in these, and they're really soft, even up to the 69 plus 6s, so if you've got some money on tilt with rake back going, you can definitely get some nice little grind going. And yeah, in these, it's just, I'm not going to recognize anybody at these tables, so I'm going to be pretty much playing most of my hands as if it's a complete random. So that might help a lot of you guys with your lower stakes games, where I might take a line against someone I know, and I'm confident that that line is good against that person, but someone against a random at these tables, it would probably be a really spewy play. So here we're just opening a suited ace under the gun. This is, you don't have to do it. It's certainly okay to just fold there, but I like doing it. Just the fact that you can hit a flush multi-way and you're going to get paid off so often at these limits especially. And of course you can always barrel against people on certain flops and turns the rivers and give him the fold. But here I'm just going to check give up pretty much, even if he bets 90s. Well, if he bets 90 and folds back to me, I might call. But here I see bet the king-queen on the top pair flop, and I'm just kind of checking now to make it look like I'm giving up, since I think he has probably a draw a good amount of time. And here, if I bet, the draws are just going to fold, and if he has a king, he's going to bet anyway, so I might as well just check and see if I can get him to bluff, make it look like I'm just giving up on the pot. But he checks back, and he had the 8s. Okay. So you can just toss a net on this guy while we raise up the a7. Flats 8s pre-flop, then flats a c-bet on king 10-2 hard flop. I mean, in my opinion, he should be checking there. No big deal about it. He should probably just be set mining on that flop. Excuse me. But you can definitely take a note of how wide people are flatting c-bets, and that this guy can definitely be a candidate just to barrel a lighter, and especially barrel most of your draws, just because he's flatting really widely, and he's probably going to fold at some point unless he's absolutely terrible, and then we might see that soon if he just will never fold pre-flop, or post-flop rather. But this guy, if you see, just 3-bet me, and I folded pretty quickly. At this point in the tournament, I'm not really going to be doing any sort of defending the 3-bets. I'm just going to assume nobody 3-bets late, and especially since I opened on a gun +1, and he 3-bet me from the small blind, I think, it's definitely no need to assume that's late. Move that a little bit out of the way there. I'm just gonna, since this guy's so bad, I might actually complete for the extra 50 here with the 8-7. It's a little bit marginal, but I just think this guy's terrible, and he probably is too. And you know, you can flop the nuts sometimes, and since I am recording, they're just gonna throw it at me. And here, I think it's so obvious. Well, not so obvious, but so much of the time one of these guys has an ace, and it might even be like ace king, that's never going to fold to a check raise, even though a check raise looks really strong. So I decided to check again, but they're all checking it, and it's probably going to go check on the river, so I'm just going to put a nice little bet in here. This is how you get very little value with 8-7, but at the same time, I think the majority of the time someone bets that turn with an ace, and we're just going to see what he called us with. He had the king 9, so he caught us with a 9 that he hit on the river. So that is one thing you can kind of maybe see, is that I guess some people, you got to pay attention that they might just not ever. I probably should have defended right here. I was just kind of talking and folded because it was timing down, but some people at these limits just aren't really capable of bluffing, and they're just going to try and see a river, and then if they don't hit, they're just not even going to bother bluffing, and you got to make sure that you can pick up on that, because there's no need to pay them off if they're not bluffing. And that was, we can kind of see from him not betting that turn with the spades, just how he plays in general. He's just pretty much a weak passive fish. He should definitely be betting that turn once it's checked again. And we're going to have the queen 9 suited, pretty easy. Really hope these tables are showing up good for you guys. Let me just make sure I'm registered for some extra ones in case I bust any of these due to whatever variance you run into in these. It's pretty crazy sometimes. I'm gonna probably just isolate here with ace jack. Let's get one more of these 6s in. Alright. Just folding all these trash hands. It's definitely fine. This guy flats. He's played 92% of hands over 12 hands. Low sample size, but I think it's good enough in this case just to realize it's not aces or anything here, and he's probably just absolutely terrible. So I'm just going to check and never fold at any point in this hand. And now I'm probably just going to shove the river. See, like, this is just never a line I would ever take at a higher stakes turn, but there's like, he has a little more than pot for left in his stack, and I basically just want to give him any chance he can to either just shove when I check the flop, or to try and catch something if he's going to check back. And I don't really think my hand's that vulnerable, so I just try and let him bluff it off there, and he didn't really, either had nothing or whatever, but do what we can. I'll open the 8-7 and the jack queen if it's folded to us. I'm just going to fold to that raise. Just play pretty tight to other people's raises. I don't think there's much reason to try and screw with people when there's so many other spots you can take. I mean, if you flat, you can screw with people if you have a decent hand, but 8-7, this guy's got 30 big blinds. Just no real need to get too crazy. Here I'm just isolating with queen jack, and this guy's coming over with a really big 3-bet. It's probably like ace king or kings or aces every time, so it's fine with me. Could donk this flop, but I'm just going to check. And if he checks back, I'll probably lead the turn if this guy checks. It's definitely something you should be doing a lot in these limped pots if it's only like 3 people. And I'm just going to dunk it here, even though jack cam. Yeah, I'm just going to make 100. got shot as well. So, but he min raises getting like 4.5 to 1. 10's probably good, and a queen is, but I'm just gonna fold, I guess. It's just kind of whatever. I have no idea what he has. Maybe he has a jack, but I just don't see. Maybe he's slow playing really bad, but whatever. You will notice a lot of limpers though in these, and these guys are all just getting it in anyway. This guy limp calls 30 big blinds with queen 10, and this guy overcalls with 7s. They're both really bad. So put a little note on, even though I don't think I'll ever see either of them ever again, which is quite unfortunate. Hopefully one of them wins the Sunday Million, because it sure as heck isn't me. I'm just going to fold ace-10 here. He pots it, and ace-10 plays kind of bad out of position. Just going to be a lot of guessing games. I'm just going to fold. No, I'll fold ace-9. If I was later position, I probably would have isolated him, but blinds are kind of going up a little bit, and I'm going +1. Got to deal with all these people behind me, and I'll have to play out of position if any of them decide they want to flat. We'll open this so it falls to us. If he checks here, we're probably just going to min bet, even though you're not really representing anything. I could isolate him, but I'm just going to fold. If it was an MTT, I would definitely isolate, but just don't feel really like it. Just a little bit, the decision is based more so on the fact that people in these, I believe, are a lot less stationy in general, so I'm just not going to be trying to isolate too wide, just because I think that I think it's kind of unnecessary, because you're going to get paid anyway. But I will still open wide. And switching up to 2.5x now. These guys' stack sizes are like 30, 40 big blinds, or not 40, but a little over 30 effective. So I just don't think 180 is necessary. And I'm just going to check back this flop. I could bet, but I'm just going to kind of check with expecting to have a good amount of showdown value, and can maybe bluff if I feel like I need to. But these guys probably aren't going to be bluffing too much themselves, so it's not going to be hard to play the hand, I don't think. And this guy bets 120. I could see him doing that with maybe like some kind of jack. And this guy calls. I think I'm just going to fold. Or I could raise, but I think I'm just going to fold. I think one of them has a jack, maybe both of them have a jack, who knows, but I think one of them has a 10 too. But who knows? That's why it's questionable always, but I just didn't think I could really call another bet on the river. And I think one of them has me beat. Probably just going to be set mining here unless someone makes it too big. this guy limps, I'm probably just going to isolate. Seems fine for me. 4x. I'm gonna fold here. Don't really feel like completing. You're gonna miss the flop so much, and even if you hit an ace, you're just gonna be in a weird spot, even though you're probably gonna be good. But I think I'm just gonna fold in that spot. Now as the blinds, as you're stacked to windows, and these are, I think, is when you should really start to play a bit tighter and just kind of wait around and use your push fold advantage. I think it's going to be okay to do that. Because you're probably, if you know what you're doing, you're probably going to be against 90% of the field that doesn't know what they're doing. Got ace king here. Just gonna make it 2.5x, like a half bin. Everyone folds. I'm just gonna fold the 5/8 suit here on the button. Not much happening. Huge check raise over here. It's probably 2-pair or the nuts. Fold 5/6 suited on the gun. Fold here, and I will fold the small blind both these spots. Fold. Here you could fold, it's fine, but I think I'm gonna open because nothing has been going on really. This guy limps, so I'm just going to isolate, make it a little bit smaller than 4x. This is completely optional, you can just tighten it up and not isolate this guy, but I don't mind it. And then he just bets pot and I'm done. The only thing I can really do is shove, maybe min raise, but it's not necessary. And that's why raising the king 10 there is probably perfectly fine to be optional. I mean, if you're just bored, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you can definitely just play a bit tighter. And it's not going to be a problem. Because, like I said, there's just going to be so many people limping, flat calling, and all this crap that if you get a hand, you're going to get it in good so much of the time and not have to worry about having to get people to pay you off. Excuse me. I'm going to try and keep that to a minimum here. I will be 3xing this if it's folded to us, but if anyone raises, I'm just going to pitch it with the Jack 10. I'm just going to fold the King 8 suited. And I'll open these two on the right if it's folded to us. Okay, we're just gonna make it 233 and 245. Probably should just make it 233 on each, but whatever. The world goes on. And we're just chilling around. Sorry, wish there was something more exciting to say, but when the antes come in, it's a lot more action packed, and you can definitely shove a lot more than normal. And we got ace king here, and we're just gonna probably end up shipping it over a raise or something, but we'll see what happens. Okay, we're just gonna jam over this. No need to real 3-bet, especially for the fact that some people at these limits are just gonna flat call 3-bets even with these stack sizes, and that's not really what you want. And people will still just call these jams with worse. But this guy had queens, so maybe we can win a race, but we don't. So we're gonna throw one of these ones on the left. I'm going to open with the 4s here. It's a good game. Sometimes you'll lose races. That happens. Bring this bad boy in here. Fold here, fold there. We got the ace king over here. This guy defends his big blind. I'm just going to bet half pot on this flop. It's a really dry flop. I could just check it back here, maybe try and get the showdown, but I'm still just going to see about it. I get check min raised. I'm tempted to just call here. I think I'm going to call one and see what he does, just because I think this is so full crap. And I might just decide to bluff. He beats 480. So, I'm just going to fold. I guess I decided to call on the flop just more out of tilt than anything, but I'm just thinking that he thinks the half pot c-bet's weak, and the check instant min raise is just so full crap that from what I've seen from random players. I just thought I was good a decent amount of time, and maybe I could hit an ace or a king. That would be good a lot of the time as well. Here, I'm just going to 3-bet this guy and get it in. Even though it looks strong, it's whatever. People will just jam jacks, 10s, 9s all day if they're that bad. Or they'll flat call worse and either get it in on a bad flop or whatever. But we get in against ace king, safe will hold this race since we just lost the other race to queens, but we lose both races because we run awesome at life. And we'll just go ahead and put a different one up. Got some hands over there, so we'll get to them. I'm going to register for a few more in case we keep busting. I'm just going to jam here, bottom right. I'm going to open to 233 up here. Get called by king queen, so that's good for us. But this guy hits a queen, so we are truly running awesome. I guess that's good to be getting it out of the way for when I play an MTT, but if only it worked like that. So we do have some more on the side, so we can keep filling it in. I'm just going to fold king 6, fold king 7. And there's the final cut. Shaboof. Goodbye. So it can be frustrating if you're playing these and just not winning anything just because you can't hold up, but it doesn't mean that they're not profitable, and it doesn't mean you can't have a day where you do win everything. So don't get discouraged and just load up more and keep playing well. Just gonna fold ace deuce here. Just registering for a few more. And we're just doing a little folding. King queen here, I feel like folding as well just because we're in early position, and it's getting to that point where we just can play really tight with our 25 big blind stack and just kind of wait and go into push fold mode. Once you get down to these stack sizes, you don't really want to be opening and having to play pots out of position, or even in position for that matter, and have to guess whether someone calls your c-bet with complete crap or with nothing, and leave yourself with less fold equity. But here we do get ace king, and I'm just going to make a standard raise unless someone comes in, and I will jam. If there are aces in, I don't mind just jamming. And now that he limps, I'm just going to jam. Especially the two limpers, it's definitely fine. Move that out of the way. Okay, we got kings top right. I might just, honestly, if I call someone, maybe stack them post flop, but if this guy opens, I'll just jam. And here I am just going to make standard raise instead of jamming, just because I think he might spaz out, because I have been raising a good bit at that table. And it looks like we busted someone down there with the ace king. Yeah, the guy limp called 3-5, so if people are doing that in these, then they're definitely profitable. Here, this guy's really bad. I'm just going to flat and assume that he's going to just get crushed post flop. Since I just shoved ace king, I think if I 3-bet here, it's going to look really strong, but it might not even matter if it looks really strong, just because this guy's going to stack off with so much pre-flop anyway. But once I get this flop, I'm just going to raise, get it in instead of trying to slow play it. I think any kind of pair he has is just going to stack off. So I'm just going to try and get it in. And we got queens up here. he folds. Okay, we get flattered by this guy with 10 big blinds, just still assuming he has nothing because he's terrible. And we're just going to get it on pretty much any flop. And this guy comes along as well. And I think I'm just going to bet like half pot maybe like 500. 480 sounds nice to me. Yeah, boom. Okay, we get flatted, and we're just going to shove this turn. And we get called by a set of 9s, so that's always awesome as well. Day's going really good for this video. And we get kings, and we'll see how we can get it in with them, but I'm just going to end up... Oh, actually, I'm going to do another little stupid raise just because these people are so bad and they're flatting, but no, I'm just... I think I'm just going to flat now. Like, I think at least this guy, like, I just assume he's just going to get it in with so many bad hands that might not get it in if I ship. And these people are not good enough to think that I have aces or kings here just because I flat. And I'm just going to jam this flop. I'm just going to bet 480, and he might just check fold. But I kind of wanted to see if anyone else would give action since they didn't seem to be playing very well. But he just check folded, so good for him. You can definitely just jam their pre-flop, and that's usually what I do the majority of the time. But I kind of just wanted to make it look like I was maybe tilted or something. Or just get the extra value from the other people. But neither worked, and we move on. This guy limps, so I'm going to just pop it up, make it 400. We're only like 35 big blinds deep or so no need to make it too big pre-flop. Now I get kings. And he min raises, and this time I think I'm just going to 3-bet. And I think he's just absolutely never going to fold. And I hope he caught something. Just going to bet at half pot. Made it 2.5x pre-flop just to make sure he just never folds. I mean, I'm not afraid of my hand. Just bet another little bet and then shove the river. And he's tanking, and then he bets, and I'm just going to shove for value. I mean, he could have a set or something dumb here, but he could also have a random queen he's never folding. But he did fold, so that's awesome. Maybe I should have taken a little bit more time to shove, and I suggest you guys do that when you're doing that kind of stuff, but just assumed he was never folding anyway, but he did, so well. I'm going to shove this if it folds to us. Just getting into shoving any king here on this big blind. And this guy limps, so I'm kind of tempted to just jam it in his face, and I believe that's what I'm going to do. This guy's been limping a decent bit, and I don't know if he's limping a monster. I just don't think he is. But this guy wakes up with queens, because I have awesome luck, and we lose to him. But that is something, if you have these people who are limping, and just gonna fold the vast majority of the time in late position, then you can definitely jam your up to like a little over even 20 big blinds with some marginal hands against them, and it's gonna be profitable as long as you're in the small blind or big blind or button where you don't have many people left to act after. And it's just kind of unfortunate that he had queens there. Could have flatted here at the 10-9, and I probably should have, since it's gonna end up being a multi-way pot, but I just didn't. Okay, we're going to fold the 4-3 suited up here. We still have some fold equity, only have an M of 5, so we're not super desperate, but we're getting there. I would have just jammed this 9-7 suited if it folded to us as well. I'm just going to jam the 6-5 suited here. It's a little close under the gun, but I think it's okay as we get snap called. If it was not suited, I'd probably fold. I definitely would fold, actually. We got called by worse, so I guess that's a good thing. But worse doesn't mean worse for us, so we lose. And we'll pop another one up there. And we're jamming ace-jack on the small blind, or the big blind, and he calls with jack-10. Some truly great players in this tournament. And we do hold this time. We got breaks coming up, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this for part 1, and we'll come back with part 2 and hopefully maybe make a final table.